Is it my turn?
Yes.
A little extra grooming and attention to the outfit, etc. I try not to overthink, but being CDC, Sue's first date stressed me out enough. I don't think that. I think that's typos. I'm assuming that person meant OCD. OCD.
I'm
I
trying.
think we're supposed to say because. I try not to overthink it because first dates stress me out enough.
I'm trying to find out what the Centers for Disease Control.
Yeah, I don't think
has to do with the first
I think
dates.
it's just a typo.
I want to tell you what. I want
Yeah.
to party with this person. if they actually have to call the CDC on the first date,
Am I allowed to be within 5 feet of a man?
oh my goodness, I would have that suit on.
You're listening to Slightly Uncomfortable. Are you ready?
All right, so let's go and get this thing started. Welcome to Slightly Uncomfortable. We have a different crew here tonight. You will notice that there will be a lot more calmness to the evening because we are absent one Root. Root is off. I think there is a race or something going on this weekend, so he's probably Winnie the Pooh in it in a beanbag somewhere, watching cars go around and turning left.
You don't think he's out saving the world or anything like that?
God, I hope not. If he is, I'm thankful I'm in the bunker. But tonight we've got Lloyd.
Hello.
Sitting in. No, that's not audible. We've got Lloyd. Try this again.
Hello.
Fucking rookie. And we've got Alex.
Hello.
And when I arrived tonight, Lloyd and Alex was already at the house, and Alex was walking out the house. I thought maybe Lloyd had pissed him off or something. He goes, no, not at all. I just needed my scarf.
Yeah, he just went outside to get his scarf. That's
And
all.
This is the first show that Lloyd has done with Alex.
Yeah.
And thank God Alex decided to scarf up.
Well, naturally.
Yeah, because, I think Lloyd would have thought that it was a bit of a disservice.
Yeah, well, the scarf is part of the show now. It's in it.
Yeah, we have our logo.
Yeah.
We have Root stuttering,
Yes. Yeah.
my
Yes.
interrupting, and Alex's scarf.
It's scarf.
We'll see what Lloyd
Yeah,
gets attached to.
I'm still new, so I'll see what I bring to the table.
That's right. So, thanks, guys, for coming in tonight, and thank you all for listening to this podcast. We actually put this topic out, to kind of our focus group, and several people came back to us and said they wanted to hear a show about dating. And we thought we would do it tonight, seeing that Root was otherwise indisposed.
Yes.
Because he's a product of a 30-year marriage. Thank goodness. Congratulations, right?
Yes, that's
Yep.
great. That's great.
And he married his high school sweetheart, and has absolutely no opinion on this subject that he can say and still be married.
Yes.
We got back to his pride.
Or when the internet has been around.
Yeah, right. He has no idea what dating apps are.
No, it's totally out of his league
He
here.
probably met his wife at the Smoking Barrel in high school. Wearing the clothes from the merry-go-round or Chess King.
They met on the playground.
Yeah, that's right. So we kind of thought about how we were going to go about this, and we've bantered it back and forth, and it's not an easy subject, I don't think, to have a primary linear focus on. Now, traditionally, we'll go back into what we did when we were children, and I don't know that that's really all that relevant or interesting, because I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, when I was in high school, I didn't date.
You didn't date.
How about you, Lloyd? Did you date in high school? Were you a man about town?
Oh, I was
you
a ladies' man. You know that.
Were you wearing your kangaroo tennis shoes and
my kangaroos and my kids and
Yeah.
my bell bottoms,
parachute pants?
parachute pants. That's right. We were MC hammering all over the place.
That's right. Your mullet. Were you a mullet wearing?
I was the mullet guy.
So did you date in high school?
Yeah, some. I mean,
Well, I'm talking about with other people.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So,
I had a car and I could go out on dates. It was amazing.
Oh well.
Yeah.
All right.
Who knew?
And how about you, Alex? Did you date in high school?
Oh, no. What do you think?
Well, he got angry if I hadn't asked him.
Yeah, I grew up in a bunker, so no.
That's why he likes the podcast.
He likes the bunker. Yeah, he likes the bunker.
Oddly enough, I didn't date at all in high school. I mean, I had a couple girlfriends that were in my youth group, and I don't know about you guys, but early on, some of the things, how you learn about things. I didn't really have any siblings to tell me, the birds and the bees. My mom and dad were older, so I didn't get that talk at all. We'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about sex in one of our future podcasts. But I remember when somebody explained to me what a French kiss was. Oh my God, I thought that's the nastiest sounding thing I ever heard in my life. So you're going to tell me that this girl's going to come up and stick her tongue in my mouth, and I'm going to like it? And they're like, yeah.
How long before you figured out that you did like it?
Not just that. I figured out the joys of sticking tongues all sorts of places. But we're not going to talk about that tonight.
That's another podcast for another night.
Another podcast.
There's a question later that could involve that in dating.
There is.
Yes.
There absolutely is. But I think what I did Friday, and this was kind of spur of the moment, and for those of you that got onto our Facebook page and participated in our survey, we all really appreciate that, because it's sometimes difficult to find out what it is you all want to hear, other than our drunken rambling. And by the way, tonight I am drinking a Wild Turkey 101 that Lloyd provided.
The gift that keeps on giving.
It is. Well, it stopped giving because the bottle's empty, so you need to be ponying up next time you show up. And how about you, Alex? What are you drinking?
I'm having Stillhouse. What is it called there? America's Finest Black Bourbon.
And what are your thoughts on it so far?
I think it's decent. It's apparently supposed to be aged on coffee.
I don't know how that looks.
Yeah, I don't know how that looks either, but I think it does adds something to the flavor, but not.
It's not remarkably.
It's not
different.
particularly remarkable. Yeah.
But it's not bad.
No, it's not.
Not bad. And Lloyd, what are you drinking this evening?
I'm drinking the Marathon 99-cent Diet Coke Special.
Oh, it's a special.
It's a special, yeah.
Well, Lloyd is not of all of us. He is the least of the drinkers. Would we all agree with that?
That's for sure.
Is that fair?
For sure.
Yeah. So if you hear me slurring, it's because I live here, and these two guys got to go home.
I do have to call out that the Stillhouse comes in a paint thinner can.
Which is and I'll be honest, it hooked me. That's the reason why I spent $25 on the sumbitch. Is the marketing is on point.
Yeah.
I mean, it stands out. It looks like something to be sitting on the shelf in a garage somewhere, with a guy that's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and ashes falling off of it while he's working on an engine.
Well, this is the second time you guys have fallen for marketing.
This is much better, though.
It's better than the
It's
Stonehammer.
better than the capital punishment of bourbon, Stonehammer.
It didn't scare me.
Yeah, right.
The Stonehammer at least came in a bottle that looked like it should be drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right.
So
exactly.
with the Stillhouse, it comes in a bottle that looks like
It should be poison.
You
It
should-
should have
yeah.
a skull and crossbones on it. So do not drink under any circumstance.
Yeah. So what we did is we created a survey, and whenever you guys see these surveys on our page, or if you can't access them, get with one of us or me. I'm the only one that you all should know who it is. So get with me on Facebook, and I'll be happy to send it to you. But by all means, fill these out, because these are actually anonymous, and so you fill these out, and we have no idea who all's responded. They don't come in any particular order. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to read this survey, and we're going to read your all's responses, and kind of organically have discussions per responses. We're going to see how that works. First time we've ever done this forum, and we're going to take turns reading the questions and the answers, and we're going to start off with Lloyd.
All right. The first question of this survey is, early on, how much info is too much info? Is there any information that you should never share on your first date?
And before we read the answers, what are our thoughts on that? Before we are actually influenced by the wonderfulness of our patrons. Yeah. What are our thoughts? We're going to do it. Fucker. I'll tell you what. Right now, I think there's a lot that you can share too early on a date. I'm a very open guy, and I think I've been guilty of doing that way too much. I also think there are times where you can't share enough. My biggest issue that I've had in reference to this is, what are questions that are inappropriate to ask on a first date? And we'll get into that a little bit later. But Alex had an aneurysm because I jumped off script. And my God, the scarf is, he's like gnawing on the end of the scarf, and he's going through some sort of a panic attack. So we'll go ahead and go on the script here. Because Lloyd was supposed to read the question. Alex was supposed to read the first response. He was already ready, and he had no original thought.
He's like the John Short of the podcast.
He is. He just, I was told that I was supposed to read this now. So by all means, Alex, read the first response. These are the responses that the people that chose to fill out our survey returned to us. We don't know their gender.
Yeah.
We do not.
We don't
their
know
age.
anything about them. We don't know
nothing other than they filled out the
yeah,
survey.
just the answers to the questions. So I guess that's part of the fun is trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mystery.
All right. So the first response we got for this question is that we should not talk about desires or children or marriage or anything super personal.
Should not talk about desires of children, marriage, or anything super personal.
Okay.
I don't know if that's really super personal, though. I mean, is it? I mean, that's just thinking maybe too far ahead on a first date, but I don't know that that's really super personal.
I don't know. I mean, at my age, if they're wanting to have children, they're barking up the wrong damn tree.
Right.
You know, my sap is not running out anymore. So that ship sailed. And I'm the oldest of our group. So, I mean, maybe there are future plans for children in my age group, but I wouldn't think that would be common.
I mean, yeah, it seems like having kids or getting married, if that's your goal and you're dating, right? Like, then it makes sense to have that conversation somewhat early on.
Yeah, pretty early. Yeah,
But
I
on
would
a
think.
first date.
But it doesn't necessarily, yeah, but.
Well, now, actually, this doesn't say first date. It says early on, how much info is too much,
Early
much
on.
info to share.
Oh, right,
It's not
yeah.
first date.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that this, in that context, it's absolutely appropriate to talk about, do you ever want to have children? Especially if you're dating someone, you know, as a man, if you're dating someone younger than you, that maybe doesn't have any children. Also, marriage is a huge topic. You know, when you're our age, and we're going to say 45 or 40 to 50. We'll just use that.
Right.
I'll young myself up a little bit. But it's hugely important is if somebody wants to get married again or for the first time and the other person doesn't. That's a deal breaker early
yeah.
on.
Well, and at our age, I mean, you only have so much time.
Right.
Right? I mean, you only have so much time in your life to be going on a date or anything like that, right? So if you're not having those conversations fairly early on, you may be wasting each other's time.
Right. So I think if I'm going to grade this response, I would agree with that. You should not talk about desires too early.
Right.
But it should be spoken about. You don't want to do that in the feeling out time. I like you, you like me, maybe, you know, that kind of stuff. But once you say, you know what, I like to continue seeing you.
Kind of enjoy the moment. You know,
Right.
enjoy the time that you're on a date and everything's nice. There's no reason to muddy it up with certain details.
But I absolutely think that you can run somebody off if you start talking about that shit too early.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, if you're on
absolutely.
your first, second date and you're going, you know, I could see myself married to you. She ain't coming back from the bathroom, boys. You know, I'm not speaking from experience, but maybe I ain't.
She may be gone.
Yeah. All right. The second response to that question was, there's probably information I would not share, but on a good date and the first date, wait a minute, I'm going to try to read this again. There's probably information I wouldn't share, but on a good date and a first date, it can be better to get everything out in the open. What's our thoughts on that?
I think, you know, some people's everything is different than other people's everything. So it kind of depends on what you're talking about there.
I have a story. When I was new to state government, I started working, and I never had worked an office job or anything like that. Lady came in, sat down at my desk, and all I was doing was ordering office supplies. That was the only job that I had, and I was entering orders, so it was very basic data entry shit. And she came in and she wanted me to help her with an order, and I'm like, let me finish this order that I've got, and I'll be happy to help you. She said, sure. The lady was probably 10 years older than me, not an unattractive lady, just a lady there at the office. I didn't know anybody yet, so I didn't know her. So she said, I'll just go ahead and sit here and eat breakfast. I'm like, well, that's great. You know, breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day. And I'm talking the whole time I'm doing data entry. And she said, well, you know, I have to eat breakfast. I'm like, well, okay. And then she said, well, you do know I have a new sphincter.
What?
And I'll be honest with you guys, did not really have a good response for that statement. And I actually ended up saying, they can do amazing things with sphincters these days. So So she goes into a pretty long, I don't know, monologue as to that she had cancer of the sphincter, anal cancer. I don't know what the term was,
Yeah.
but it was something extremely awkward
Yeah.
to be sharing in a morning on a Tuesday in the state office building.
It seems like you would not want to eat breakfast in that case.
Well, evidently they told her it's important to help that new sphincter out if you get the fiber in there early in the morning. But so she leaves after I say to hell with the order I was working on. I just needed to get sphincter girl out my office, and I went over to my boss, who's a 30-year-old vet in this agency, and she's giggling, and I'm like, really, could you not have given me a heads up that she was going to talk to me about her butthole? And the reason I say that story is this. Sometimes you are around a topic so long, you think that is common vernacular or common subject to speak to everybody about.
Yeah.
You know, she had been obviously a very, very serious health issue with this part of her body. And she'd been talking about it such a long time. She had gotten used to talking to everyone in her circle about that and felt as though it was okay to talk to me about her butthole. And I think sometimes when we're in a situation, we think it's appropriate to talk about, bridge that subject with somebody, when in reality, looking from the outside in, that's not okay, and it doesn't make people feel comfortable with it.
Right.
I just met you. It's a bit early for that.
I don't need to be thinking about your butthole in that manner, or any manner, really, for that regard.
Well, and that wasn't a date, so
Yeah, it wasn't a date.
it's
so-
like it's even more
It was even more awkward.
unnecessary.
Because, maybe third, fourth, who am I kidding? On a date, I may be thinking about that on my part. But I don't need to wonder if she's eating dinner because she's got a new sphincter.
She wants to show it off.
So
So let's see what it can do. Let's see what it can handle.
what do you think about bringing everything out in the open early on? What's your all's thoughts about that? Non-sphincter related issues.
I don't know. I mean, I think the thing here, I think what the person here is talking about is the idea of if there's something that you know is going to be like a deal breaker for some people, and for some people that may be the kids thing. Like if I want kids, I want to know that the person that I'm dating is also wanting kids. If it's really important to me, if that's a deal breaker for me,
Right.
you may as well not waste any more time if they're a hard no.
Right.
Or if they have 3 kids at home, you want to get that out because again, that might be a deal breaker for some people.
Well, I
So-
think what Lloyd said was absolutely important because when you're a parent, that is your primary concern, and it will always be your primary concern. And if the person you're sitting across from at the date doesn't understand that and can't fathom that, then the date's over.
Yeah.
If they expect to be number one on your priority list, they got to realize if you're dating a parent, then you will never ever be number one.
Right.
And if you are number one, you're not dating a good parent.
Right.
So I think when you're talking about children, not only the future plans, but the current plans. This is who I am now. I don't know that that's too much to share early on.
Yeah.
Saying who you are. I work. I have a home. I'm a father.
Yep.
Whatever. Right?
Yeah, and I think some of that comes down to just being open and honest in general, right?
Yes,
I mean,
right.
presumably, if you're having good conversations, those things are going to come out anyway.
Right. It's not like you need to lay it out like a resume.
Right.
Right. All right. Lloyd, what's our next response?
The next one is a good one. I don't think that talking about one's sexual history needs to be early on.
Oh. I'm going to chime in on this one. I think it's absolutely important to talk about sexual history. I think it's because of health reasons. I think you need to figure out what their perspective is on sex. Not necessarily their history, but are they sexually open? Are they promiscuous? Are they safe? Are they driven? Whatever the case may be. Because I was always taught as a young person, the 3 things that can mess up any relationship is money, religion, and sex.
Yep.
If you don't agree on those, you're going to have a difficult time getting through a relationship. If you don't agree on that, now you don't have to get into the dirty details of sex, but honestly, you're meeting somebody with a future intent on having sex with them.
Yeah.
What's their mindset on it? Now, it doesn't have to be creepy It doesn't have to be detailed, but I think a general overview of it is important.
And some of that may have to do too with just if it's if that's a important aspect of it for you, the ability to talk about it in the first place. Like if someone is able to have a conversation about it, as opposed to not being able to talk about it without
Like it doesn't exist.
without
some
turning
people-
all red faced.
Yeah.
Or if it's high on your priority list, and for them it's number 219 of their things to do,
Right.
is have sex or whatever. So, I mean, I think it's important to talk about early on.
So I'm going to disagree with this person that says not to discuss sexual history early on. Because if you are thinking about it in today's climate, I'm going to guess this person may not have been dating a long time or is in a long relationship. Because in today's climate, you need to know someone's sexual history before you jump in the sack with them. It's just important to do that.
Yep.
So, who's next? Oh, look, see, Alex was all about following the script, and now he's over going, so.
I was getting ready to read it.
Okay, go
I
for
was
it.
pausing for effect.
Pause for effect.
Oh,
Jesse.
y'all are in the business, remember?
Oh,
Air
yeah.
quotes don't work. Again, Lloyd's doing the air
They
quotes.
do here in this room.
Please,
So,
let's continue.
so I think it's better to be open and honest up front. Even if something isn't that big of a deal, the longer it's not discussed, the bigger the deal it becomes. However, not everything needs to be talked about on the first date. I think this matches up with pretty much what we've just been saying, right? That it's like
Right.
being able to be open and honest, have an honest conversation, but at the same time, yeah, you're not going to share everything on the first date. But
I think it's honestly reading the room. I mean, seeing how the flow of the conversation's going. If it naturally evolves to something like that, then yeah. But don't force it. Don't just interject it because it's on your checklist to talk about.
Right.
Just organically. And Alex and I have dated, not one another, but we have dated, and that'll come out later. But it's really awkward at times the way folks try to clear things up right away. And you're like, all right, can we get off your checklist and just go and start talking to one another?
Plus, you get bombarded if that's the case because they're just throwing all this stuff at you, and you're like trying to digest all of it.
It puts you a bit on your heels, makes you feel a little bit defensive, and almost like that they're interviewing you and going, oh, well, that's interesting, as they're making notes on their notepad or whatever.
yeah,
So I guess I'm up next. I open up pretty quickly. That's not my response. That's what I was reading for the next response. I like this person. I'm going to tell you that right now because just go and open up. Now, it doesn't have to be a litmus test. It doesn't have to be a checklist. Just open up.
right.
If it feels right, talk to them about it. If it doesn't, wait. I mean, my God, folks, we are adults now. If you don't know how to talk to humans, you shouldn't be dating.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Lloyd, next.
Next response: as long as I don't leave the first date knowing the color of your poop, we're good.
Fantastic answer.
I wonder whose answer that was. I wonder whose answer that was.
Whoever you all are, kudos. Because that is a great turn of phrase.
That is outstanding.
You know what we're going to do? We're not commenting on that because that's perfect the way it stands. Are we in agreement?
All right,
Sure.
let's go.
Sure.
Alex.
So, too much info about kids.
Yeah, I think that's happened to me before on the date. Is like, you got kids, cool. My goal in this date is to learn about you.
Right.
Right.
I got kids, cool. That can come in dates on down the road because you're not even thinking about, or you shouldn't be thinking about introducing these people to your kids. Now, granted, in the back of your mind, like one night I went out and I went out with a girl that said she was not a smoker, and she was. So I immediately, number one, that was a bait and switch.
Right.
So that told me something. But I immediately started thinking about if I hit it off with this girl and she was amazing and I loved her and all that sort of stuff, I eventually want to bring her into my kid's life. How am I going to explain to my children that this woman's choices are to smoke? Because nobody else in their world smokes. And they are being taught in school every day how bad smoking is for your health.
Right.
So that is absolutely a concern. But I'm not going to call her on it on the first date.
No.
I'm just going to take that and think about, okay, that's a consideration.
Well, it was a little deceptive though, saying you're not a smoker and you
She was
are.
really hot.
Well,
I mean,
well,
I ain't lying, boys.
was she smoking?
Oh, you're going to do better than that stay on this fucking show. All right. So it's my turn. This, I love this response. Let me remind you of the question. Early on, how much info is too much info? is there any information that you would never share? The answer is yes. Why bother to answer the fucking question if all you're gonna write down is yes? Evidently there is info for this person that is too much to share. They're not gonna tell us,
Well,
but they're gonna put down just the word. Evidently they thought this was yes, no, maybe.
they did say that there was information they should never let out, and they said, yes, there's things I'm never going to tell you.
So the last one is what, Lloyd?
No oversharing. Match each other's pace. Some things are best kept to yourself. So that's a pretty good answer.
Perfect. I
Yeah,
think
that's a pretty good
everything
answer.
that we've said
Yeah,
so far.
that's a good answer.
Just read the room. Just figure out how that pace is going. If you really feel a connection, maybe you can delve deep. If you don't feel a connection, stay surface. Not too hard. All right, next question. Turn-offs, turn-ons on the first date. Alex.
Turn off, arrogance. Turn on, confidence and kindness towards waitstaff.
On point. What's y'all's thoughts?
I guess they're assuming you're taking them out to eat.
Oh, God, and now we're gonna learn something about Lloyd. Lloyd is tighter than fucking bark on a tree. Lloyd is like, you think you're getting a burger from me? That's right. You're gonna have to put out for you get a burger from Lloyd.
Just playing the game,
I thought
people.
we were meeting in the park.
Just playing the game.
It does. What's your thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, both of those are agreeable. I mean, the one speaks to how people relate to others and how they're, I mean, even when we were talking about your kids, if you're talking just about your kids, that's one thing. If you're talking about your relationship with them, that's going to be a lot more informational about, kind of how do you relate to others and your relationships? How do you treat relationships?
Right.
This thing about waitstaff is going to be another piece of information in that.
Yeah, and it's on the first date or on when this is directly talking about a first date. Unlike
Yes.
the first question. On a first date, you are absolutely trying to piece together part of a puzzle.
Right.
And because we all know how to present. Well, I've heard some horror stories, but most people know how to present themselves in the best manner possible. But it's those little chinks in the armor. How you're looking at this girl or this man that you're thinking about seeing naked at some point is going to be different than the person that just brought you the nachos.
Right. And if they're putting on a front, it's like you'll see the little chinks in the armor, and this may turn out to be a bigger deal than just this one little thing once they let their guard down.
Yeah, and of course, that's the thing. This is supposed to be the moment where you're putting your best foot forward. How much worse can it get?
Exactly. If you're mean to someone serving you alcohol or food on a date, now there is a certain level of I'm trying to make this date as great as it can be. And the service is really slow, and the food's not good, or in Lloyd's circumstance, they didn't put enough ice in the Diet Coke at Dairy Queen. Whatever the case may be, the blizzard wasn't on time.
You've got to have standards.
But I mean, there is that line to walk to saying, all right, you're ruining this moment for me, waiter, and also how you handle a problematic situation. So I think that's a great answer though. Arrogance and confidence and kindness. Here's the thing that's wild for me. There is a fine line, being a man, between arrogance and confidence. And I think it's about perception. If you use, and I'm giving advice to the men out there because, if anybody needs to be giving dating advice, it's James. But if you have sentences that start more with I than any other word, stop. That's not going to work out well for you. I do this. I do that. No. When you truly care about somebody, you ask questions. Now, you don't interview, but you inquire. And I think when you're talking about arrogance, that's the difference. How you carry yourself is confidence.
Right.
How you speak about yourself is arrogance.
Yeah. One of them, you're trying to prove something to somebody, and the other, you just know it.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it comes out in your actions as
That's
opposed
right.
to.
How you carry yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's an old term that millennials especially would be well suited to learn.
Yes.
It's how you carry yourself. When you walk in a room, what perception do people get of you? Are you always looking down at your phone, or are you surveying the room, or whatever the case may be?
Yep.
All right, so the next one it's my turn. Lloyd has already got it queued up. We're going around the table, Lloyd.
Okay.
Just
All right.
Turn off. Bad etiquette, eating with your mouth open, bad breath, bad hygiene, too forcibly Sexuality. Say that for me. Too.
Forcefully, sexually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this person's been on some bad dates.
Yeah.
Is that
Sure
fair?
looks like it.
So they have had no turn-ons. There is no turn-ons listed in this answer. It is bad etiquette, eating with your mouth open. Jesus Christ, what kind of people these people?
She's got a whole list of these things.
I like how Lloyd immediately says she. And I think that may be safe.
You know,
I think every one of those would actually be a turnoff to me too.
Well, oh yeah. I'm not
I
saying
don't know. I mean, maybe. Now I would be, because if a woman grabs my pecker, like
on the
mid-second
first
grade,
date.
I'm going to be on, I need an adult. I don't know what. But I don't think we can argue with any of them.
No, it's a good list.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Yeah. Too forcefully sexually. She's been on some bad dates. Lloyd.
Yeah. All right. This answer deals with turn-ons.
No, wait a minute. This person actually said turn-ins.
Oh, turn-ins.
It was
Yes,
turn-ins.
turn-ins.
So
Oh,
then
and it is.
We're driving down the road and we're turning in.
And this is a turn-in. For
Turn
them.
in. Good eye contact, great conversation, and flirting.
So I like that. The previous person had all turn-offs.
I think those are actually,
Actually,
the
this
same
is
one.
the same person, so let's give them credit.
They
You're
just
right,
put
because
two lines. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Fair.
Very good.
Turn-ins is good eye contact, great conversation, and flirting.
Can't argue with those.
No.
Those are all good.
Those are good, too.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. Alex?
Too much talking about oneself is a turnoff. Needs to be balanced back and forth. Too much talking about exes is a turnoff.
Bingo was
Oh,
incident.
Yes. Yes. First date, no ex talk.
Honestly, don't talk about exes unless it's asked. And if you're asking about exes, don't. I mean, to me, a date at our age should be about who you are today and who you want to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
It should not. I have been quizzed. Now, I'm 51 years old. I have been quizzed about high school relationships. I'm like, really?
High school?
Yeah. Why didn't you go to your prom? I don't fucking know. It was 1986. Wait a minute, I wasn't in high school. There was 1984. I don't remember what I was doing. Probably masturbating and shooting basketball. Not at the same time. But, if you're talking about exes, and I mean, I've been through 2 marriages, and I get asked on dates, or I've gotten asked on dates, what happened why did you end the relationship? That's a hard answer.
It is. And not on the first date. I mean, that's a fair question later on.
Yeah.
But,
But is it? Now, if I were a woman, which I'm not, I'm a big hairy man in the basement with 2 other large hairy men. But if I'm a lady, I want to know about my safety. Did you beat up your ex? Was there emotional abuse? Something like that. Yes, I think that part's fair. But to know the inner workings of why someone broke up with somebody, is that important moving forward? I ask you, gentlemen.
well, just like that Seinfeld episode, he's a bad breaker-upper. You kind of want to know, is a woman going to, when you break up with him, going to key your car or slash your tires?
You will never know that. You will never know
I'm just saying. I could see where it could come in, be relevant.
But in that circumstance, a woman's never going to say, I keyed his fucking car. I burned his house down. Now, some women will.
I bet, some women will.
But not all women. I mean, no one is going to want to put themselves in a poor light. There are some people out there that are going to be open and honest. But don't ask a question that there's a high likelihood that you're not going to get an honest response to, because it's an awkward question to ask. That is something that will come out eventually.
Especially early on, yeah.
Yes. That's something that will come out eventually, and you will then be able to determine, all right, now they're more comfortable with me, and they can talk to me about something that's very tender. All right, maybe somebody's been in a multiple decade relationship that has ended. Do you really want to turn over those scabs on a date?
Right. Especially the first.
Not a first date. No, not a first
But
date.
I've had women ask me about my 401k on a first date. But again, she was hot, so I went out with her again. So, Alex, I believe it's your turn.
Let's see, where am I at? Sorry, I lost track.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and go.
Go ahead.
I like this one. Constantly on their phone, lack of compliments, and talking too much about the ex. We don't have to go into the ex part. We've already covered that.
Okay.
But what do you think is proper phone etiquette on a first date? And I'm going to say a date.
I think it's the same as proper phone etiquette when you're with someone that you are showing any degree of saying, like, it's important for me to be with you, right? I mean,
What is that?
put it away. I mean, how long does a first date last, right? And
Well, I've had
what
one
and
last
how?
weekend.
Yeah.
I've got to stay in touch over the
At
weekend.
some point, yeah, you're gonna like check in, and it's like an occasional check in. But if someone's sitting there and like would rather be posting on Facebook or reading somebody's tweet or a new cat picture or a meme, then what are you gonna get when they're not putting that best foot forward again?
Right.
Well, and I'll tell anybody that knows me, you all know this, is that if you text me, that is a get to it when you can form of communication.
Yeah.
If you need me, call me. So I put my ringer on. I never have the audible alerts on my phone, ever, for text messaging, ever. I have my ringer on. The people that are close enough to me know to call me if there's an emergency. Otherwise, I will get to it when I can. And if a person cannot respect that, and I had ladies before tell me that, oh, well, I've got kids, I need to check this. Do you need to know that your child ate? I mean, but I'm going to be with you for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the way you're acting, maybe a half hour.
Yes.
I don't think that phones should be a part of a date. I don't think it should be. Period. Unless there's an emergency comes up or somebody calls you, you need to direct that. That's fine. I get that. But it should not be a part of a date,
I mean,
especially a first date.
You need
at
to,
all.
You need to think that it's important enough that your focus needs to be on this date.
Yes. And if you can't, as Alex said, if you can't do that early on, what you going to get later on? I think that's a huge thing. All right.
The middle part of this answer, what do you all think about this? Lack of compliments. I mean, that's,
I was trying to avoid that.
well,
I think
we're here to tackle the uncomfortable subjects.
Well, listen to Lloyd bringing the host down. I mean, bringing me back to center. That's going to come back to bite him later. So, lack of compliments. I think compliments can be extremely contrived. But if you compliment someone honestly and genuinely, I think they can be beautiful. You look very nice tonight. Not you, Lloyd. Pipe down. But something like that, I think. But if you overdo it, it seems as though you're trying too hard.
It's phony at that point.
Well, and this sounds like it's an expectation. It's like a compliment should never be an expectation.
Exactly.
A turn on would be if he complimented me, but not lack of compliments.
Do you date men?
No.
Well, you said if he complimented me,
I'm speaking
you're
from her.
assuming that this is a lady.
I'm going to assume this is. Well, it could be. It could be a guy. You never know.
I think we have found out Lloyd's niche in this.
You never know.
Negative is a lady.
I'm just playing a role here.
Scarf, loudmouth, lady hater. So, all right, Alex, you're next.
All right. So personality is a big one. And I'm not sure whether that's a negative or a positive, and presumably both.
I think you go either way.
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into this later about the online dating, but I'm going to go with the next one. I think we all agree on that. That personality absolutely is a big one. Turn offs: bad grammar, bad breath, disrespectful. Turn ons: good conversation, kindness, respectful, and clean. So again, this person's been around some nasty asses. Bad grammar. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, it matters to me.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I think where that may show up as much or more is in written form early on, like even maybe before a first date when there's chatting and stuff like that. And I've seen that there's a lot of like paying attention to grammar and spelling and Do you substitute you, the letters U and R for you are?
I do.
Right.
I do.
Yeah, I can see that.
I do that. But I think it's also the difference between how your profile looked online and how your text looked on a Thursday at 9:30 when you're a little drunk. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that could be taken into consideration about grammar.
Sure.
But absolutely, you need to be able to be well spoken.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a first date. So it's not necessarily in the written communication, I don't think, in this circumstance. It's more or less how do you speak? How do you present yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I would agree with the bad grammar. Bad breath, yeah, nobody wants to be around swamp mouth. And then disrespectful, I think it goes back to the waitstaff thing. I think we're going to probably see in some of these a lot of repeats because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Next answer, turn off. Body odor. Telling too many negative stories. Turn-ons. Make me laugh. Make me laugh, clown. You know, that's the only reason I've ever gotten laid, guys.
Because he's funny.
That's it. That's the only reason I've ever got laid. There's two things. I tell stories and I don't tell jokes. And if I'm going to give guys advice anywhere, don't fucking tell a joke ever. Jokes put people on edge. Very few jokes. Well, unless you're a stand-up comedian, don't tell jokes. Because if I look at Lloyd or Alex and go, I got a joke for you, they are immediately going to go, probably not going to be funny.
Dad joke coming up.
Or they're going to go, I'll laugh so he doesn't get mad because I know how mouthy he can get. Don't tell jokes. But if you can make someone feel happy about being there, then absolutely it's going to work. Body odor. God, is there a lot of stinky people that are dating today?
Probably more than you want to know, I bet.
Maybe deodorant? I mean, I don't.
People coming off their 12-hour shift and going straight to the day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If that's a problem, then thank God I have practiced good hygiene because that separates me from the fold.
Well, probably these people have gone on many first dates because there weren't second dates. So,
Yeah, but I mean, if you got a stinky person, I'm with them.
Yeah.
If a lady shows up to a date and they don't present themselves the right way, now I'm not saying they need to be dressed to the nines or anything. Just do the best you can with what you have.
yeah, absolutely.
I went out on a date one time in Louisville at the Goat and met up with this lady, way heavier than her pictures alluded to. I don't have a problem with a larger lady. I'm a big guy, but I want it to be genuine. I want her to represent herself the right way. But my biggest issue was she sweated the whole date. Visibly. Now, I'm a sweater. I'm a big guy. I get hot easy. She was literally wiping sweat from her brow, and her makeup was running, and it was not. We were inside a damn bar. It was not like we were outside at a volleyball court. This was climate controlled. And then she wanted to get frisky after the day. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, ma'am. No, you are not getting, because I can see stuff sweating here. I can only imagine what is sweating elsewhere.
You can only imagine what's hidden.
The swamp ass is not anything I want a part of. All right, who's next?
I am.
Okay.
All right. Turn-ons is physical touching. Turn-off is not looking put together.
Let's talk about the physical touching part.
Okay.
Because up here we have somebody being too forcefully sexual.
Well, I think that's two different things, though.
Yeah.
Physical touching. What is appropriate physical touching on a first date?
I mean, there's the obvious, if it's natural and while you're having conversation, there is touching that tends to happen, right? You touch somebody's hand or shoulder or something like that.
And I think that is hot as fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you do that to establish some modicum of connection.
Yeah.
Right.
But if that's what they're talking about, physical touching, yeah, I'm all about that. But yeah, okay, I get that. I think that was a good point. Yeah, it's touching of the hand, it's touching of the shoulder, it's establishing
reassuring type
some
touching.
sort of contact. Going, yeah, I want more of this.
It's an engagement, and
Yes.
it's an invitation for
Yeah.
some sort of escalation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next part, turn off, not looking put together. Thus, the sweater at the Goat.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's like she was working out or something. Just talk. Alex.
Turn off, being churchy, lack of curiosity, turn-ons, intelligent conversation, and flirting.
I like the churchy part. I don't know that I've seen that word churchy with a hyphen.
Are you coming in on your first date? Where do you worship?
Oh, you know what? And I've had that happen, and I looked at them immediately and went, I'm sorry, did we meet on Christian Mingle? No, we met on fucking Tinder.
That's right.
You looked at my pictures and swiped right. I don't need your churches. No.
Or Grinder.
No. Lloyd, did you see, you know what, we figured out how Lloyd got to this podcast. He saw Root's profile on Grindr. That's how they know each other. That's it.
Oh, that's how I came into the fold.
Oh, pardon the pun.
No pun intended.
You know, it gives a whole new meaning to
Coming
to
into
name
the
Root.
fold.
Into the fold.
Oh, fuck. All right, next question. Jesus, I started sweating. I'm like the big girl at the goat. Does the number of sexual partners matter? Lloyd?
Well, the first answer is no.
All right.
Okay.
Alex,
The next one.
it is rather lengthy.
Yeah, it's got a little more to it. Somewhat. I never ask for a number. Usually you can get an idea from talking about the subject matter. So numbers can be too low, some can be too high, but like Goldilocks, some are just right. Of course, the parameters.
Look, whoever answered this, thank you. This is amazing.
That's gold, Jerry. Gold.
So, of course, the parameters for that varies from person to person.
Okay, so I love that answer. I think it's perfect. I'm going to make an executive decision, and we're just going to cover all these in one, and then we'll
Okay.
discuss.
All right.
Because this is kind of like a yes/no. So we've got a no, we've got a somewhat a no, and then somebody says, "I don't want to know their number." The next person says, "At my age, no."
Meaning older? You assume that's older?
Well, I'm thinking
and-
probably our age.
Sure.
Yeah. And at some point previously it did.
Right.
Yeah, possibly.
When you're 21, if
Yeah.
you've been with 35 people, that's concerning, possibly. And then says yes to a degree and then no, not really. So what, as a group of us, what do you think, Lloyd, since he's our rookie,
Yes.
when you and Root talk on Grindr, what do you think the importance of a number of how many sexual partners that you've had matters at our age? Or to you, just to you?
I think it does matter a little bit, just because maybe it's kind of a history of what they've done in their life, you know, the way I see it anyway. So, I mean, that's just a personal thing, but.
Okay. Alex.
I think it probably. I mean, it's one of those things. It sure seems to be a constant conversation item, but at the same time, it's like, does it really matter? Are you going to stop dating this person because of that number? Are you going to pursue them because of it? It might come up. I mean, maybe that's the case. You know, maybe that's part of that Goldilocks answer, right?
Love that answer. Whoever did that, thank you.
But you know, I mean, otherwise, it's kind of like it seems like it's something that people can fixate on. And maybe that's as telling, the fact that somebody's going to fixate on that number as opposed to not fixate on it. And maybe that's your level of how much do you match up, right? Not the specific number, but the how much does that number matter to you?
Yeah.
But what if they end up being deceptive in that number? Like
If they are going to.
Well, no,
Everybody is.
no. If someone tells you that, well, I've been in a few long-term relationships and I've had sex with 10, 15 other people, and then you find out later it was 900, just as numbers thrown out. I'm just saying,
What
is
kind of life have you led?
again. I mean,
I'm trying to figure out just the timing of that.
yeah, she was busy.
Next.
Next,
What's
but
her name? Houston.
264.
I'm number 263.
But I mean,
Welcome to my scraps.
could that be not something that was deliberately deceptive in range of number?
Which is a good reason for it not to even be a conversation piece, right? Because, basically not be a conversation piece, because just knowing that it's one of those that it can be a trigger, and it can be one of those that's like, people tend to be deceptive, even if it's not intentional, right? They tend to be like, yeah, that one doesn't count. Neither does that one.
I was out of state. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say a couple of things to this. Number one, I think that's the worst possible question that you can ask ever to anyone. Total. It just is. Because what's the right answer to that?
Right.
All right, I am 51 years old. What's the right answer for me to say to that question? Is 10 not enough? Is 25 too much? Or do you really want to know my number? And then I'll watch you spit your drink out your nose.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry. And honestly, if you are keeping count, that is as much concerning to me as if you are a prostitute. Really. I mean, if it's a notch in your bedpost, and then at some point you have to define what the fuck sex is. Is a blowjob sex? Hand job? I mean, at some point, that's a much bigger conversation, I think, than what this question that we all hear about all the time. And I'll be honest with you guys, if somebody asks me my number, I'll look at them and go, you don't want to know. And if they push it, then it's on. But I'm going to look at them and go, you don't want to know. Now, that may infer that it's low. But knowing me the way most people do, by the time we go on a first date, they're going to assume that it's kind of high. So, but I would rather someone get to know me for who I am, not the notches, because I don't know the number.
Bet the over.
Yeah, you need to bet the over on this one, kids. So, yeah, that's absolutely what we need to do. Next question. How do you prepare for a first date, Lloyd?
Let's see. New outfit, shower, shave, makeup, hair, new bra, panties, set. Yes, I always do that. Got to feel sexy.
That was definitely a guy.
No. And that was, I think that was Lloyd directing it to Root. You're out there somewhere in the nether. Enjoy your racing.
I miss you,
I have
Root.
a new bra on. All right, so new outfit, shower, shave, makeup, hair, new bra, panty set. Got to feel sexy. Thoughts, guys?
Hey, at least she's going through the extent of getting a new bra and panties just for my first date.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I would agree, because I remember I was in college, being the young stud that I was. No one ever. And I was on a car date, because I was in a Christian college, and this old place we could actually go to have coitus was a car. My Mustang had a lot of miles in the seat and on the drivetrain. So I was going to be the crazy guy, and I ripped her bra off. She shut that shit down then and there. And she says, do you understand what one of these things cost? And I'm like, evidently I do not. And I ended up having to go to the mall the next day to buy her a fucking bra. That damn thing was $35. And I never saw her titties. Anyway, so how do you prepare for, I mean, I think granted, this is probably not Lloyd preparing for Ruth. This is probably a lady preparing for a guy. That's pretty awesome. What do you think, guys? Do you think that every woman you've ever been out with is prepared that way? A new outfit?
To that extent, yeah. The new outfit, I might actually be a little intimidated if
Yeah.
if somebody went to the extent of getting a new outfit for it.
Maybe it's important enough to her, though.
But that's yeah.
That's saying a lot. I mean,
It is saying a lot.
It is.
Whoever filled that out, good on you. No. Alex.
Taking extra time on my appearance and reading the news.
Seems odd.
Things to have conversation about.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
You
conversation
read the news
starters.
to make sure you've got
Honestly,
things to be engaged about.
If my first date, has devolved to the topics of the day, it's not went well. If I have to talk about what's going on in Washington or Franklin County, Kentucky, or any other damn place, it has devolved to the point of where I'm like, I'm out. I don't need to talk about topics of the day at all.
You could talk about inmates you've looked up.
I love looking up inmates on Franklin County Regional Jail. Oh, that's the new dating app, kids. You mean it was just marijuana? Oh, yeah.
She's a
Sign me
keeper.
up.
She's a
that
keeper.
right there. She's got a source.
She's got connections.
I've been looking for one of them. Is it my turn?
Yes.
A little extra grooming and attention to the outfit, etc. I try not to overthink, but being CDC, Sue's first date stressed me out enough. I don't think that. I think that's typos. I'm assuming that person meant OCD. OCD.
I'm
I
trying
think we're
to,
supposed to say because. I try not to overthink it because first dates stress me out enough.
I'm trying to find out what the Centers for Disease Control
Yeah, I don't think
has to do with the first
I think
date.
it's just a typo.
I want to tell you what. I want
Yeah.
to party with this person. if they actually have to call the CDC on the first date,
Am I allowed
sign me
to be within 5 feet of a man?
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have that suit on that zips up, and you duct tape down the wrists. That person knows how to party. Wow. Yeah, I think extra grooming as being a bearded man when I go out on a date, any date actually. Whether it's with my girlfriend, happy anniversary, darling, 6 months today. Big accomplishment for me.
Awesome.
You boys are looking at
Congrats.
me like, going, really? You've been with somebody? Somebody's put up with you for 6 months? Yeah. But even then, extra grooming, taking care of the beard, getting a haircut, that kind of stuff. I think that's huge. And let me ask you this question, guys. Does a first date stress you out?
It can. Yeah, it can.
I think there's extra attention that you give to it. Stress me out? I wouldn't think so, but
See, I know. A first date is easy. What's difficult is the second and third date. Because the first date, everybody's trying their hardest. Everybody's putting their best foot forward. Everybody wants to have a good time.
yeah.
If you're dating somebody that is a parent, they've got a babysitter, they may not get out all that often. By God, they're going to have a good time. It's that second date. How do you feel about me? Do you want to see me again? How do you think it went? That kind of stuff. First date doesn't stress me out at all. All right, Alex, next one.
Shower, shave, masturbate.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh yeah, preparation regimen.
Shower,
got it.
shave,
Sure.
masturbate.
What was the last thing?
Masturbate. Folks, we're not making this up. This was answered by one of you all. So I think what Lloyd said earlier in our pre-show was along came Mary. That was a common theory. Masturbate before you date. Rub one out so you don't act inappropriately. What are your thoughts about that, guys? Because I have mine.
Well, now you're assuming that it's a guy saying this.
No, I'm saying in general. What's your thoughts? The idea I would assume here is that you don't want to be too, what's the best way of putting it? Horny. Thirsty
Thirsty, yeah.
for that date and make a bad decision because of your thirst for that.
Yeah.
So rub one out before you go. And is that the?
I don't think that's unreasonable.
I think it sounds like you need to have some more first dates.
All right, wait a minute. Let me just hear this one out because I think it got glossed over here. Lloyd just came up and went, I don't think that's unreasonable. Please expand on that, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going
If
to
you're
the
going
date
out
and
with Lloyd, just so you know.
again, you don't want to be too thirsty, then why not?
If you're going out with Lloyd, don't shake hands.
But you may not need to buy any hair products.
That's something about Mary reference. So Lloyd's saying absolutely, right?
Sure, why not?
All right, Alex. It seems like you're saying something different.
I think I'm just saying that. I mean, it sounds like somebody who's pretty anxious about first dates.
All right, so I had this conversation with my girlfriend earlier today because I was looking through I was doing show prep
Oh, okay.
because that's what I do.
You were looking through the jailbirds?
What's it?
Looking at the jail?
No, let it go.
Okay.
Just go back on Grindr. But I was doing some show prep and I asked her because I thought this was a really funny response.
Yeah.
And whoever wrote that, thank you, because if it's genuine, that's amazing. If it's not genuine, it's fucking funny. All right. But I said, shower, shave, masturbate. And she looked at me. She's like, really? And she goes, have you ever done that? And I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have discussed this with you. Is what I'm hearing now. And I'm like, no, I haven't. I really never have. She goes, are people not in more control of their desires than to have to rub one out so they don't misbehave on the first date? And I'm like, maybe. I didn't really know how to answer that. But is that not concerning that you think you have to void yourself of that for just a moment so you don't misbehave?
Maybe they don't want to be walking around with a loaded gun.
I will tell you what, I may not have the best gun. I may not have the biggest gun, but that some bitch get reloaded really quick if I'm motivated right. Even at 51 years old, kids. So I don't know that this would matter to me, but that's a fantastic answer. So next one, how do you prepare for a first date? Just be yourself. Now, I don't know how that's preparation, because I show up being myself. But maybe that's just a conscious effort to say, I'm not trying to be anything other than what I am, and take me or leave me.
Is just being yourself coming off that 12-hour shift.
Yeah, stinky, bad breath, chewing with your mouth open.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just masturbated. Lloyd, your turn.
It's possible. Make sure you are clean as can be.
What kind of life do these people live?
I'm usually really dirty.
An issue.
Usually really dirty.
Oh my God, you don't have good breath. Your hair ain't clean, and your ass stinks. Really?
We've had some bad first
I'm
dates.
envisioning like the decontamination chamber that you can have set up for your first
You
date.
have to get deloused. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. All right, Alex, last one.
Clean up. Chat enough ahead to know there are things to talk about.
I mean, I think that's the cleanup. We're just going to glaze over that because everybody evidently has said you need to shower first because of the previous answers. But chat enough ahead to know that there are things to talk about. Now, I have been dating low these many years. I'm not proud of this, but I have. Sometimes the chatting ahead, that's a hard balance to hit because either you chat too much and you've shared way more than you should before you've ever laid eyes on somebody, or you've not chatted enough and you have no idea where anyone lands on anything. Yeah. So that's a hard balance in today's climate. We're talking about internet dating where you chat for a while before you actually meet one another. Is there I'm going to put this out to the panel here. Is there a right amount of time before you make a contact with someone to go out on a date?
I think like not so a specific amount of time, no, but it's that part of that balance, right?
What about, is there a proper amount of time? I'm not talking about like calendar time. I'm talking about how much you chat with one another, how much you share with one another before you go out.
Yeah, presumably it's once you have seen enough in the conversation leading into it to know there's going to be stuff to talk about when it comes time, but then go ahead and do it so that stuff is there to talk about, and maybe even hold back on some things so that they are there to talk about.
And I think maybe keeping that chat, that texting prior to the date, high level. So there are details you can ask about possibly on the date. Right. Not to get into the weeds of stuff. I think sometimes I have had situations where the conversation gets so detailed and so personal that when you meet with one another, you feel a little awkward. You know, I actually, connected with this young lady, we'll call her a young lady, on the Tinder, swipe right. Much like your website, Lloyd, Grindr. The first, you chat a little bit on the website, then you decide to jump off of it and share your phone numbers. Mm-hmm. The first text message I got from her was a pussy pic.
The very first one.
The very first one. Now, we hear all the time about guys sending dick pics. Yep. And, for ladies that had to be relegated to that, sorry, didn't mean to. No, I'm just sorry, that shouldn't happen to you. But that's sharing too much. I mean, I meet her and I already know what her vagina. I didn't meet her because I didn't think that was appropriate. Also, I thought I may have been being catfished because I have not had that happen very often. I thought maybe that was a dude trying to portray himself as somebody that he wasn't. But I think there's a fine line there when you're chatting with how much time you try to occupy in that person's day. Just like tonight, I'm podcasting with my buddies, and my girlfriend knows that, and I've not gotten one text from her. Many times you say that and you get blown up as you're doing something, even though you said, you know what, I'm busy tonight. So I think that there's a fine line there, but I digress. All right. Anything else on that topic? How you prepare for first date, boys?
think we're good.
Okay. All right. Next question. Who should pay on a first date? Lloyd.
All
And
right.
I'm just saying Lloyd should. Every first date I go on, Lloyd should pay.
Lloyd is always the answer. Depends on how the date goes. If it's good, him. If it's bad, I'll pay for myself.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
I'm gonna let Alex go first on this one because I just had a minor angerism.
I'm
That's
just,
an aneurysm due to
I'm
anger.
just thinking like it's an interesting clue as
And
to
that's
whether or not the
exactly
date
what
well.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is.
Yep.
You know, I had a discussion with my girlfriend this past weekend, and man, it got really interesting. Her perspective versus mine.
Yeah.
And please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it kind of it almost implies that if he pays, then he's going to expect something or is owed something, right? Which is part of the outstanding question with this question in general, right? And that by paying for, I'm assuming herself here,
Yes.
that absolves her of that obligation.
No.
There should never be any obligation in the first place, obviously, right?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that's an interesting answer. I would think that the answer would be the same, no matter whether it was a good date or a bad date.
Right.
But
I would agree.
And does he know going in? Now, look, if I let you pay, I like you. And if you see that I'm picking up the bill, then probably not getting another date.
You know, the preconceived idea is about if it's good this, if it's bad that. Lloyd, what's your thoughts? Before I just chime in because
go ahead.
I'm going to lose
Go
my
ahead.
fucking
That's,
mind.
That's my only thought.
All right, so let's do this high level. And let's read what everybody said, then we can have a discussion. Is that
Okay.
fair?
All right, sure.
All right, so I'm going to read. I'll read them. The next answer is probably the guy, but I'm not against splitting. Second one, I hate this one. I personally prefer to go Dutch, but common practice for the guys to pay. I always offer, but I don't fight this too hard. Oh, gonna go back to that in a minute. The guy should, but the gal should offer to at least split it. Next answer, the man. Next answer, the man. Next answer, the one who did the asking. Find that interesting.
Okay.
Next, the man. I want the guy to think it's expected. I don't mind paying from time to time, though. Next one's the man. Last one's split. Now, here's my thoughts. I read an article probably about 2 years ago that answered this very question. Who should pay on the first date? And the guy writing the article said, the man. But, and went into the entire article about why that perception is erroneous. Now we are in the middle of, and this is going to get more political than I wanted to, but we're in the middle of a place where equality is a subject, be it in the workplace or in the home place, whatever. You can't step up and say everything needs to be equal except here. Mm-hmm. Now I'm old school. If I ask somebody on a date, I expect it. I have every intention to pay. I like the one person that says, I always offer, but I don't fight it too hard. Because I often wonder that if even the date went great and the bill comes, let me pay my half. All right, let's divvy this shit up. You had this, you had that, I had this, you had that, like you do with a buddy. Like if I'm going out with one of you two,
Right.
we're going to divvy that shit up, right? And I think that goes south as soon as you do that. I don't know of any date I've ever been on that would have been better because I started itemizing the fucking bill. Right?
yeah.
But at some point, you can't say that we're all equal if everything isn't fucking equal. And I've had people say, well, if you're a gentleman, you'll do it. What does being a gentleman look like today? I don't know. I mean, I know in my world, the way I do it is I pay. But I don't like this whole, I'll ask him if I can pay, but I don't really expect to. And if he makes me pay, that changes everything. Really, it's about money on a date. And then, Alex spoken about, and I thought it was absolutely valid, is if the guy pays, then there is an expectation on the women's part to feel as though that they need to stay longer, they need to do more, whatever the case may be. That should never happen, right?
Right.
So I had this discussion again with my girlfriend, and it became rather animated. And
What did she think about it?
I'm not going to speak for her because that will get me in trouble yet again. But I think that she was she probably thought that yes, the guy should pay. But if it doesn't go well, she'll pay her part and walk away. I don't like that litmus test. I don't like that. Well, I've judged. I'm the judge and jury. This did not go well. I'm paying my percentage and I'm walking away. And I saw this in my personal life when I've dated, of saying we don't eat on a first date. I meet someone for drinks and I pay the bill. If it becomes more than that, we can talk about it later. But I think if food is involved in today's society, two people going out for drinks and dinner, and obviously you think, other than Lloyd not going to Dairy Queen, you think you're asking somebody out, you're thinking it's going to be a nicer place, right? You're looking at $100.
Oh yeah, easy.
If you're having multiple drinks and dinner, that's $100. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty hefty bill for I don't know you, and I don't like you, and at the end of the day, I'm out $100. That's a pretty hefty bill. So I just do it to drinks. I'm gonna throw it out to the guys, boys.
Well, I thought the one who does the asking is interesting, because that's a pretty like equal kind of perspective.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the fact is, I mean, maybe I shouldn't overgeneralize that, but I think it is probably a common pattern that the guy is the one doing the asking.
I would agree with that.
But
high percentage, if nothing else.
Yeah. But it at least takes into account the fact that you're equals coming into this.
Or my idea, my bill. Years ago, I was dating a girl named Mary. And Lloyd will probably remember Mary. Mary was very attractive, very smart, and all that. But she had a really good way of saying, we are meeting so-and-so tonight for dinner and drinks at whatever restaurant it was. It was always more than what I could afford. And there was one night I'd had enough. We'd met at a place called O'Shea's in Lexington, which at that point in time, it was pretty high end. And I remember I had a burger and fries and a beer at O'Shea's. The waiter showed up to the bar or to the table and went, our special today is la-da-da-da-da-da. And she goes, I'll have that. All right, I'm sorry. I always, if that special sounds good, how much is that? She didn't. Because guess what? James was paying. So it comes. It was a seafood dish of some sort. I got my bill. I think she had 2 drinks. I had 2 drinks. I think I had 2 beers. I don't remember what she was drinking. My bill was $84. I had a burger and fucking fries and beer.
$84.
And you know what? She only ate half of it. The waiter came to the table, this is no lie, and said, ma'am, would you like a box for that? She goes, no, I'm done. I'm like, the hell you are. You're taking that whole damn thing home. If you have to eat on that sumbitch 4 times, you are eating that damn $84 dinner. Because I had a fucking burger and fries for $84. So I'm sorry, I need to get that one out, guys. I just had to get it out. I'm sorry.
You know what she did after that? Went to your place and dropped some hair.
Yeah, she did. She was a very hairy person.
So I think the thing there though is like, I mean, this is about the like, are you going into this with some mutual respect and that kind of thing, right? I mean, that is not respectful to you. And in general, like say, we're going into these as equals. There should be some semblance of equality in the, what we're each getting out of it, including what we're consuming.
I think what the one person said was, who asks is who pays.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Obviously and I will say obviously, but I'd say primarily, if you're on an online dating situation, the guy's going to eventually say, hey, how about we go out and get some drinks or dinner one night? It's on us, right? And then if it happens again and the girl's like, hey, there's a show that I'd love you to come with me, then yeah, maybe, but I think, honestly, guys, we could pretty well cover all this as just being good with communication.
Right.
And all this stuff works.
Yeah.
If you're not good with communication, if you fall into the stereotypes and the expectations, then the shit's going to go wrong. We don't want to do that because that's not good podcasting. That would be a 5-minute podcast. Be good at communication, and we're out. So we're going to continue the way we have been. Next question. What is too old or too young for you to date? Lloyd?
Well, some of these answers are kind of hard to read. Let's see. Too old.
Well, they're big words.
Well, it's not that. It's just the way they're
big words.
the way it's answered. It doesn't always make sense. The first answer says too old, maybe 50, too young, 28. Of course, we don't know the age of the respondent on this. So,
That's true. And then we can pretty well generalize this one, don't you think?
Yeah.
So what Lloyd said, too old, maybe 50, too young, 28. 30 to 50, so that's assuming a 20-year age gap. My range is 5 years younger to 10 years older. I think 10 years either way is fine. More than that, it could get a little weird. 40 to 50, that's another 10 years. We got yet another
10 years.
plus or minus 10
10
years.
years.
I think you're asking for an acceptable age gap. So this person is correcting my fucking question. Did we date? Anyway, I think you're asking an acceptable age gap as long as the guy is in his 30s, but not older than 50. It's okay. I am 44. I'm going to try to figure out which one you all are, and I'm going to find you. Anyway, more than 10 years difference, 15 years, and I'm going to let Alex take this one.
All right,
This is the last one.
So there's a formula for calculating an appropriate age range, and I think this is the how much younger could they be?
Right.
I think whether or not people are open to dating someone older than them may be a different thing, but the how much younger can they be is your own age divided by 2 plus 7.
Math.
But math
I thought it
works,
was,
right?
Oh, I thought it was plus or minus 7. I'm sorry.
Lloyd's not good with math. So for that regard, it would be 33 for me.
Okay.
Lloyd, what would it be for you?
Oh,
Alex, how about you?
It'd be 29.
around 32.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, my cutoff when I was dating, when I was 50, was 35. And now I'm not saying if a 29-year-old messaged me that I would not go, well, hello. I'm saying I would not message anyone younger than that for me because I would feel like I was being creepy.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of shocked that mine ends up anywhere in the 20s at all.
And you know what? And he's sitting a little bit taller right now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He has got a new reach. Yeah. And Lloyd, what's your thoughts? Would you date someone that is? Wait a minute, I know Lloyd. Be careful with this one.
Yeah.
How young would it be for you to date someone? What's the youngest you would date someone? Lloyd, tell everybody what your age is. You've not shared your age.
I think
no, Lloyd, share your age.
I'm 48.
Okay.
I'm 48. So I would probably date someone as young as 35.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be about it.
All right. Honestly, to me, this has never been a big issue because I was married to a lady that was a year older than me for 10 years. I was married to a lady that was 10 years younger than me for 10 years. At no point in either of those relationships did age become a factor. I think it's about maturity. I think it's about what you have in common. I don't think that age should ever really be that big of a concern. The bigger thing for me at my age now is if I'm dating someone that's 35, they're in a different point in their life than I am. Has nothing to do about their maturity. They may or may not have had children. They may or not have had a home or a house or went through those kind of things. That's a different.
And you don't realize when you're younger how much of a deal that's going to be with the kids. And, are you in an age range to where you still have kids or want kids? And, if you're a generation above that, then that's out of your mindset. So that's actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and you may think at 35 you don't want kids, but all of a sudden at 42, Now, you're 42 and I'm 57, and now you want to have kids. Now we got a problem. So I think that's the biggest concern that I have for that age gap. Now, I think this is a huge question. Are we ready?
Yep.
How much does someone's social media page affect whether or not you will date them? Lloyd?
You can learn a lot about a person from Facebook, social media. That's for sure. So you can kind of gauge their level of crazy by
All right,
by
again,
Facebook.
Lloyd speaking about women. That should be a podcast
I'm just saying.
right there.
I'm just saying. You can tell a lot about a
right,
woman, especially.
But we weren't really asking you as much as we were what other people said.
Okay. Okay. Well,
I think we had covered that.
you
That's
skipped.
what made Alex lose his mind earlier.
Oh, is that right? Well, you skipped a bunch of questions here. That's why.
I did not. Did I?
Yeah, you skipped like 4 questions. That's why
Okay,
I was.
well,
scrolling.
Let's
Okay.
finish this one, and then we can go back to the one about the online dating profiles.
Okay.
Okay.
My mouse. I'm sorry.
Okay. Read the question again, please, Mr. Moderator.
All right, how much does someone's social media page affect whether you will date them or not?
The first answer is immensely.
Okay.
It has not so far.
Thirdly, I usually forget to even look them up. Now that right there,
That's not an answer.
no, that right there speaks to the ambivalence of, you know what, this person doesn't really matter. I ain't gonna spend the time to stalk them.
It's not that I wouldn't stalk them. I just forget to.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
got better things to do.
This
with
is
my-
assuming you've given a last name.
All right, that's a whole different type of dating, Alex.
Tinder only gives a first name.
I want to tell you what. Now, I have done this, and I will do this if I, hopefully, darling, I'll never have to date again. But if I do, I will always give a girl my first and last name because I want them to be absolutely comfortable and feel like that they're safe. If they want to do a Google, if they want to do a whatever, I went out with somebody that worked for state police, and they did a total background check.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
And
sure
fine
people
with it.
do that.
I'm fine
Yeah.
with that because I can't imagine how scary it is for a girl to meet a guy they have no idea who they are. I can't imagine that. So a lot, women, a lot. You can actually tell about somebody from their pages, like if they're actually still married. When he said single.
I think that's a
person's
biggie.
better. That
That's a-
person's better.
You think so?
That's been some stuff.
I think that happens a lot, actually. So
It's never happened to me that I know of. I think that moniker probably falls more to the men's side than it does to the ladies' side. That more men are out there misrepresenting who
Probably.
they are, and
Probably.
we're dogs, and I get that. Lloyd,
somewhat, be a man I can be proud to be with.
may I speak to that one?
Sure.
I was dating a girl, and I really am thankful. We had just started seeing one another. I mean, it was very early. And I used to be rather aggressive on my online communications, and I didn't really give a shit what I put out there. And I was at my dad's house. I was really quite taken by her, and I was really excited and all that sort of stuff. And I was in there, and I got a text message. She said, "Well, I just looked up your Facebook profile, and I'm not certain I want to still see you." And my heart dropped. I'm like, "My God, really?" Because I never really thought, because I had just recently came out of a divorce. I had never really thought that somebody was going to be looking at my Facebook profile and determining what type of character I had. Because to me, the difference in what I was as a human and what I portrayed online was grossly different, right?
Right.
And then I started looking, and she actually said, and we ended up seeing each other for a minute. And she's a great lady, but she said, "Do you really want your kids to read what you put online?" Eventually, and I realized for the first time, because I'm an idiot, that what you put online is around forever now.
Yeah.
And if you don't want your children to read what you put online, don't put it online. Even though my kids are young, at some point they're not going to be. They're going to be on social media. They're going to look back on their dad's profile, and they're going to see that shit. So I think it does matter. I think it does matter for me. If they are spouting their political beliefs or religious beliefs and stuff like that, I'm going to have an opinion about that. You know, how you present yourself to social media matters. To me, anyway. How about you,
Right.
Lloyd?
Like I said, I think it makes a big difference. I mean, you can just kind of get a feel for someone ahead of time just by, what they're posting, whether it be political or with their family or whatever. You can find out a lot of information about someone. Is it stalking? Maybe, but
It's not if they put it out there.
Yeah, they've put it out there, so it's
I ain't driving by your house at night
right. So
like some ladies do. Alex, how about you?
I don't know. I'm not big on like. I don't really like go looking that much on social media in general, but I think it makes sense that how is someone presenting themselves and all that kind of thing. It doesn't. There is definitely information there. I don't think that captures everyone, and you have to recognize that like sometimes it's a persona, sometimes it's a that's just one side of them kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know what? I think persona, if you're a celebrity, that's fine. But if you're like from Lancaster, Kentucky, I don't know that a persona works for you. That's pretty much who you are, and how you want others to see you. So here's my thing is on an online persona, as Alex said so well, is if we take a selfie together and I'm on her feed, all of a sudden I'm linked to everything that person said. And do I want to be associated with that?
Mm-hmm.
Do they take 28,000 selfies a day from the same fucking angle every time?
with the same duck face.
Yes. Or do they have pictures of cats? I'm sorry, there's concerning things about. Are they always speaking about their Lord God Almighty, but you know what they did last night? That kind of stuff. Anyway, moving forward. Alex, are we going to talk about dating profiles?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see here. So,
What catches your attention in an online dating profile? I think this is huge.
yeah.
Because if you're dating in today, then you're probably on an online dating profile app, something like that, Christian Mingle, Tinder, Match, Cupid, Plenty of Fish, something like that. So, what's the first answer?
Someone with a sense of humor.
We'll just read through all these.
Yeah.
Right?
Sounds good.
Uniqueness and good grammar. Lloyd.
Creativity, thoughtfulness in the answers. Also, for me, proper grammar is a must in profiles.
Alex.
Witty bio that is specific and not generic. Good pictures, not a lot of group pictures where you can't tell who's who. Turn off is people with post pics of them with their kids. Also tired of reading "Looking for my partner in crime."
Smile. Good quality photo. Not bathroom selfie. Ladies, just as far as a guy knows, we don't care about that. If you want to take a picture of you in the bathroom, we're fine with that.
That's fine.
Boy.
Variety of pictures, and if you are funny.
I don't online date.
The next answer is simply smile, which I don't do. I do not do in any selfie. I'm going to do a tangent right here. If you smile in a selfie, you're fake. At no point have I ever held a camera in front of my face and got tickled at the fact that I am choosing to take a picture of myself. Ever. And some people can pull that shit off. They can hold that camera out there. They can have a beautiful smile. I look like I'm a damn idiot every time I put a weird smile. No one's making me laugh. I'm not at a comedy club. Nothing has tickled me. I've never ever gotten tickled and go, I need to take a picture while I'm in the middle of the tickleness. Anyway, please continue.
So here's the trick. You have to look at the camera as if it was the person who was making you laugh. Who are you taking that picture for?
Oh, see, that's why he wears a scarf. Because he's tender. All right, now this is a great. What catches your attention on an online profile, Lloyd?
Pictures? Is that where we were?
Yeah, that's just pictures.
Pictures? Wit?
No,
pictures.
The next one is Alex with the.
Okay.
He's not ready, so I'll read it.
Right.
Pictures, wit, invitation to engage, not a list of no's. All right, the last one to me, I'm going to take a lot away from. So, in general, fellas, if you're looking at a profile online as guys, what catches your attention? Lloyd.
I like the answer uniqueness and good grammar.
Okay.
So I mean, things that are I think that thing about not a list of no's is all about like having things you're gonna do or want to do, not all the things you don't want to do.
Yeah, I
right.
get that. Yeah,
like
very fair.
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, those. I mean, pictures are obviously the thing that first grab your attention, but there has to be more to it behind that. So yeah, it's something where there's creativity, wit, and a level of engagement beyond just a pretty picture.
I don't want a guy that does this. I don't want a guy that does that.
Yeah.
And again, Lloyd with the guys. No, I love you. You know, we have really bridged our gap here. I mean, no, obviously Alex and I are very heterosexual, and we really appreciate the fact that we brought on Root and Lloyd that seem to be a bit more on the edge, a little bit more.
What are you gonna do?
So for me, on a dating profile, is I love the fact that they're saying that good grammar and that they're engaging and stuff. I've dated online for a long time, guys. My first online profile was on Yahoo Personals.
Oh wow, that's going back.
Back in the year of our Lord in like 1990.
Wow.
You know, so I've done this for a minute, right? I don't really give a shit what book you read. And the fact that you took a lot of time filling out your favorite band, the book you read, you know, your favorite color, you know, where you want to go on a vacation, I don't give a shit. I don't care. It's how you present yourself. If you only do a sentence or 3 sentences or 4 paragraphs, how's that look? Are you all about checking boxes? And because this online dating site said you should fill this out, all of a sudden you're going to go into grave detail.
Yeah,
I will never ever email you if you've listed 137 books that are your favorite. If they say, what do you want to take on a deserted island when you go, 5 things, I don't give a shit at all. The fact that you go, you know what, this is who I am. Here's my picture. If you want to message me, message me. That's what I look for. I don't care anything about the other stuff. Granted, pretty pictures are fantastic. But we all know there are filters and everything like that out there that can make a picture a little bit different. Just show me you.
I don't want to gloss over this point in one of these answers because James and I noticed this years ago. If you're in a group pictures where you can't tell who is who, like if you come across a profile or a Facebook where there's always 2 women and several pictures of the same 2 women together, what's the answer?
Don't be the ugly one.
It's always you're always the ugly one.
Right. If you're going to take a picture with other people, be the hot one, or don't put that picture up, because all of a sudden we're wondering, well, she has hot friends. I wonder if they're on the dating site. Let's look for them.
Yeah.
Don't be the ugly one.
I'd also say the same thing about if 80% of your pictures are filtered with stuff that's like, you know, all kinds of filters on them, especially the filters that are like covering your face, turning you into into a panda bear.
I will echo that. If you use a Snapchat filter on your profile,
Yeah. Or if 80% of them are duck face pictures.
Yeah, if you have deer horns and a little nose put on your filter, just forget about it.
Everybody's got Snapchat. It's free. We don't need to see that on a fucking dating site. And what I've heard about from women is don't show your car, what you caught at the lake, what kind of deer you dropped this year, or your truck. I get that. I'm sure that's probably pervasive. But what we see as a guy is that we see a whole lot of cat pictures. I love the person that says, do not have pictures of you and your children. That is huge.
That's good.
And ladies, if I can give you any advice at all, don't ever put pictures of your kids on a dating site. Guys too, but what I see is only women's profiles, unlike Lloyd. Don't put your kids' pictures out there. There's bad people in the world. You don't want them to have access to that. Put pictures of you. That's it. So, moving on. What made you decide to date online? Lloyd? Men.
Men. Expand my horizons.
Yes!
And,
Yes, he has.
and meet more people.
Alex, please save Lloyd from Lloyd.
Why not? A friend made me.
Oh, God. Peer pressure. All the cool kids are doing it. Next one. Easiest way to meet people. I don't go to church. I don't go to bars very much. Not fair.
Seems to be the thing to do these days, and for those with a busy lifestyle, it's definitely easy.
And I think the rest of them are very similar to what we've already read. The reason why I date online is simple. I can wear my comfortable breeches. I can talk to 4 or 5 different ladies and not be out of dime. And I can I can narrow the field down. I will tell you what, guys, I've been dating a long time. I don't have any game at all if I go out to a bar and see a pretty lady at a bar. I told my girlfriend this up last night. We were sitting in a bar, and I said, if I saw you at the bar, I would never come up to you. Because I don't know what I can do to separate myself from all the other guys at that bar that think you're attractive. There's nothing special about me. I'm not going to be a performing monkey. I'm not going to be going, look at me. Woo. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go through an interview process.
Well, and there's something to be said for a dating site being, I mean, that person has also put themselves out there. If you're in a bar, you never know. You've got that whole...
What their situation is.
Yeah, what their situation is, all that kind of stuff. Somebody who's on a dating site has already put it out there that I'm also interested in this, which has already narrowed you down 50%.
Great. Lloyd, any thoughts on that?
Well, I used to date a woman that said she would never
wait a minute,
date.
wait. Did you hear that?
Breaking news, I know. She said that she would never date online. She would prefer to go to a bar because she knew that the person that she was meeting was at least real. And, with catfishing going on these days, at least you're saying this is a real person. It's not somebody that's a fake profile or anything like that. She always said that she would only date people that she'd actually met in person.
I'm going to do a survey at some point because I take care of the surveys and send them out of how many people have actually gotten catfished. I think that is a huge, huge term that everybody knows because there was a show. I've been dating online a long time. I have never, ever gotten catfished. I think that is grossly overstated, and I don't think it happens nearly as often as people would seem to make it appear that it has. Now, and I think the data will play out, and I'll put it out there, and we'll find out. But I really think that term is grossly overused. And yeah, I understand a woman wanting to go to a bar and see somebody, but you know what? Some of the weirdest people I've ever met has been in a fucking church. And do you really want to be the person at your local church
That's true.
or at your local Kroger that has bedded down about 4 people out of the congregation or is always the one lingering in the produce section? Do you really want to be that person? And I want to tell you what, boys, I'm into some kinky shit. I ain't dating in my hometown because that shit gets out. Oh, it's not going to go well for James. All right. Sex on the first date. We have a pie chart that we can look at.
It's a visual.
It is. I love it. Sex on the first date. We've had 4 different options. Number 1, no way. Number 2, I have, but it's not my normal thing. Number 3, why not? And number 4, just depends. Now, I want you all to think just really quickly of how you would answer that. And now I'm going to read the results. Out of all the people surveyed, 70% of the people said, I have, but it's not my normal thing. Isn't that something? So, here's the thing. The next largest percentage is a 3-way tie with 10%.
All right.
So of all the people surveyed, 70% of the people said, I have, but it's not my normal thing.
Has it done before it is your normal thing?
Yeah.
If you do it all the time, it's not the exception, it's the rule.
And to me, just depends just is basically the same answer.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So that makes that 80%.
80%.
So when you got 80%, that's a whole lot more than I think most people think is the assumption, right? I mean, I think most people go into it thinking like, oh, this is not even an option, and yet we got 80% who are like pretty open with the idea as at least it being a possibility.
And we go back to the earlier questions. They got new bras. They got new panties on. My God, they shaved. Oh, I shouldn't have masturbated is in the mindset, right? I mean, they prepared for, we have. I
The
don't want to say
possibility. The possibility.
they prepared for maybe somebody will see my bra and panties.
Yep.
Even though in their mind's eye, I would never do that on the first date. All right, so for me, I don't think that having sex on the first date is bad. I don't think it should ever be expected. But I don't think it's bad. If it feels good, do it. I'll watch a show on the TV. God,
The TV?
Jesus, I just
TV.
The TV. And the box that speaks to me. But it's Bizarre Foods by Andrew Zimmern. Mm-hmm. I love that show.
Yep.
I love it. But one of the things he says is if it looks good, eat it. And in my mind, maybe I'm a bit of a hedonist. If you think it's going to be fun, do it. Why have the social parameters to say you shouldn't, or if you do this, they'll think that, or they'll think this? Guys, if it feels good, do it. If you think it may feel good, do it. I don't have a problem with that at all. Any girl that puts out on the first date because it was organic, and we were clicking on all cylinders, and it was amazing and all that sort of stuff, I'm not going to think any less of you the next day because guess what? I was in the back of that Altima the same as you were.
Yep.
If I think bad about you, I'm thinking bad about me.
Yep, that's right.
So, and Lloyd has a Versa. So if you're putting out with Lloyd is a big man, and so's Root. So if that's happening in the back of the Versa, that is something.
That doesn't happen by accident.
It doesn't. It doesn't. That's planned. That is planned. All right. So the next question. This is one of my favorite ones. Fuck buddies.
Now, the answers on this also could be the same as the other one because there's two categories that you could say it's pretty much the same thing. So there's an overwhelming majority that says they would do that.
But we see a gross variance in the percentages from our pie chart.
Yeah, so let's talk through the percentages.
Yeah.
So we got the no ways, which interestingly on both of these, that is only 10% on both questions.
Yeah.
Of all the people surveyed,
Yeah.
10% went, fuck no. Nope. I ain't doing that.
I ain't doing it on the first date. I'm not a fuck buddy.
So you two, however many said no, you're not dateable. All right. You've shut the shit down both times. You're not dateable.
So other than that, we've got 30% with I have, but it's not a normal thing for me.
Those are the same people. From
Yeah,
the first
same ones from the last one.
Those people are putting it out like it's government cheese, but they're not claiming it, right? They're like,
But I have standards.
It's like, this is my first time. Why did you bring the carrot out?
And then you got 20% that are why not, and 40% of just depends, which again matches up with the not normal, but sure.
So we have 70%.
We got 90% who are open.
Because you got to figure all the ones that why not. So 90% are like, yeah, sure.
All right, let's discuss that a bit, shall we? Fuck buddies.
Okay.
At our age, I'm a fan. All right, I have heard about this these many years. I mean, I like sex. I ain't going to say I don't. But when you're going out on a date, if you're going out to get fucked, I'm sorry, I don't need to be crude. If you're going out for coitus, then that's a different motivation. But if you've got somebody, ladies, if you have a maintenance man that shows up, takes care of business, right? Are you as prone to jump into something that you may not be prepared for? Or are you more patient? I mean, I think that the fuck buddies can be good, bad, or indifferent. Right?
Okay.
What's your all thoughts on the fuck buddies? Has anybody in this room ever been a fuck buddy? I'm raising my hand right now. I'm a card-carrying, proud man. I have been a fuck buddy. Mm-hmm. And you can think that being a fuck buddy is awesome, but at the end of the day, you're somebody that's providing a service until they find somebody that will provide the service and they actually like.
Yep.
That's what
Yep.
it is, guys.
That's right.
Whether you're guys
That's
or
right.
girls, that's what it is. You're providing something for them that they need until they find somebody that will do that. And they actually enjoy being around.
How does that make you feel?
Fantastic. I'm a human dildo. Is what I am. If you are doing that, you're a human dildo. And anybody that has been a fuck buddy before, own that shit. I am only good for fucking. That's all I'm good for. They don't want to have dinner. They don't want to know how my morning's going.
I don't want to be seen with you in public.
No, but I need what you have on me now. That's what a fuck buddy is. And we've had, what did you say, Alex? How many? What's the
It was
percentage?
close to 90%.
90% of the people that, yeah, it's good. Yeah, that works. Because at the age that we've gotten to now, and our focus group is mainly in our age group.
Right.
Because, and I'll be honest, we've got some folks listening to the podcast that reached out to me in their 60s.
Really?
And some of them pushing 70s. And I'm like, I did not think that was going to be the reach of this podcast. And I've got some people in their 20s
Wow.
that have reached out to us.
That's a pretty good range.
So, I mean, that's awesome. But in the 20s, I don't think the 20-year-olds fully understand the benefit or the curse that's associated with being a fuck buddy. Because if you've been a fuck buddy, it's awesome until you realize you're nothing more than a toy. At the end of the day, they don't want to sleep over. They don't want to eat with you. They don't want to send you a good morning text. They just need you for that. And then they go away. It's a big deal, right? I mean, so I personally don't have a problem with it because I'm a hired gun. That's what I think about.
It's filling a need. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bounty hunter. But so I think we have one last topic that we wanted to save until the end, right?
Yeah, real quick, we do have one other survey.
Oh, God.
just
I
as a quick
forgot
one.
this one.
So it was the best dating site or app.
Okay. I think that,
Real quick ratios here was we had 50% said Tinder, 37% said Match, and 12% said OkCupid. So Tinder's a pretty, it's the pretty clear contender there.
What do you think? What do we think? What do we think about? I'll tell you my personal opinion is that I think Tinder is the most honest. Tinder and Bumble. This is my issue with Bumble. Everybody ready for this one? Bumble is the same as Tinder. Exactly the same, right? The difference is if you connect on Bumble, it's the responsibility of the woman to send the first message.
Okay.
Now, I have been on both. I've been on Tinder and been on Bumble. Let me tell you, ladies, if you're listening, you are horrible at starting a conversation. You're horrible because what we are used to is we are used to starting the conversation. So let's just say, Lloyd, since you're used to this, you're the girl and I'm the guy on Tinder, all right? And we've matched.
Okay.
And I start off with going, this is what we're writing in text. Hey, really enjoyed your profile. Loved your pictures. You're really attractive. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Exactly. That's it. Didn't speak to my pictures. Didn't speak to my profile. Guys are used to establishing a line of communication. If you say that, I'm doing pretty good, how are you? Then we will go, I am doing fantastic. Had a great morning, had a good weekend. What are you getting into this week? Something like that, right? Women do this on Bumble because they have to send the first message. That's the rules of Bumble. If you match, you can't talk to them until they send you the first message. And this is the first message. Hi.
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 That's it.
And then the guy goes, hey, how you doing? Good. How do you respond to fucking good? Good to hear it. Women are not good at starting the conversation and carrying it through because they've never had to do that in their damn history. We can talk about the equal rights, all that shit, but there is one woman at a bar and there are 25 guys trying to get with her. There has never been a situation where there's one guy at the bar, other than The Bachelor, where there are 35 women trying to get with him. You don't know what you're doing. You're out of your element. That's why Bumble doesn't fucking work. And I have a vein.
It's pulsing.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, but I've had that happen so many times. I made a great connection. And they won't carry the conversation. And it's about rhythm. And whether you're on a first date, whether you're on a third date, whether you're in the third year of your relationship, it's about rhythm. Where are you establishing that communication level?
Well, that's the thing about communication like that at all, right? Is it has to be conscious, and it has to be. And this is, maybe it's just something we learn as part of those, having that history of being the ones who lead. But like, you have to be ready to engage, and part of engaging is inviting response.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like everything
Yes.
you send should have something that anticipates a response to it.
Just ask a damn question. How's your day going? Then all of a sudden when you respond, my day is going good. How about yours? That's how humans communicate. If you just go, fine, I ain't responded back to you.
A lot of people are not good at the back and forth either. They'll send like 3 messages in a row, and then you won't hear from them for an hour. It's like you won't have a back and forth flow in the conversation.
Well, again, if you don't ask questions, people aren't going to talk to you that long. How's your day going? Good. Did you have a good weekend? Yeah. Did you sleep well? Sure.
Yeah. And like you say, like going and looking to see what are the things that are a mutual interest or something that is worth talking about, and bringing them up.
Yeah.
Most people are happy to talk about themselves if you give them a reason to.
Yeah.
If they don't, again, if you're dating and you don't ask questions, it's not going to work out well for you. If all you do is talk about you, it's not going to work out well. All right, so the last, this is going to be good, guys. The last question we're going to cover is, what is your best and worst dating stories? Lloyd?
Lloyd? All right. This respondent said, best, not sure. We just hit it off. We laughed, joked, enjoyed each other's company so much. The worst, he got drunk at dinner. I had to take him home. We never went out again.
So I think the thing to take away from that is this. If you go out for drinks, control your drinking. Don't let that influence the evening. If you drink enough to open up, that's fine. But don't get slobbering drunk. Don't get to where that defines the impression that you have of that first date. Alex.
Best, I had this awesome date walking around a small city and ending with mimosas and making out in the back of the car.
All right, let's dissect this one. Because in my mind, when do you have mimosas? When do you have mimosas?
Morning.
Huh. Isn't that something? So it seems as though they've had a date and they've walked around a small city. Oh, isn't that cute?
All
And
night?
they ended up having mimosas. I know some people that meet for morning dates, and that's creepy to me because I need low light and alcohol to make me look attractive. I know that. But they ended up. All right, so what I'm hearing is they've hooked up. Would you agree with that, everybody?
Yeah, I think that's
They've hooked up, and now they're just having mimosas in the afterglow. That's a good date. That's a good date. I ain't gonna lie. All right, so the next one is worst. Awkward silence and men being crude. How dare you? With you and your crudeness.
Crude.
You and your
Crude man.
crudeness.
You man.
You spoke about my buttocks. It sounds like, again, it's just a bad night. And we don't need to speak to it any further. Lloyd, this is a long one.
All right. Best, instant connection. We had chatted for a long time online, and I was very nervous that the connection would not continue once we were face to face. It went well, though. Okay. The worst was not trying to brag, but no real bad date stories.
Look at them.
Wow.
Well, aren't we special? I have had several bad dates. Maybe because of the volume of dates I've had. I don't know. But, well, good for you. Good on you. I mean, you didn't have any bad dates. They chatted a long time. Now, a question for the panel. Do you chat a long time? Or do you just meet? What do you think? Not just you, but in general. If you were going to give advice, what would you give?
I think that thing, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like the idea that you need enough to know there's engagement and going to be something, but not so much that you've worn it out by the time you get to it.
Or that you've developed something that is disingenuous.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure.
You know, because I remember back when I heard or read stories about folks that were pen pals. You know, they developed a repertoire between what the written word was, and then when they met, it was like it wasn't even close to what they had developed in their mind about what the pen pal was. And you know what? It's cute that we think it's any different today, but that's exactly what texting, once you've made a connection on a profile is you've developed a pen pal type situation. And maybe I'm somebody that when I get a text message and I take all sorts of concern with putting the exact punctuation and emoticons. Oh, I'm so good at that. And I meet you, that's the first time I've been outside my grandmama's basement in the last 3 years.
Yes.
That's the first time I've worn breeches that was not tied at the waist. You know, so, I mean, I think that there needs to be a balance. All right, so best instant connection. You just read that one.
Yeah,
didn't you?
next one.
Is it your turn, Alex?
Sure.
All right, I've been drinking.
Best, a date with an old acquaintance that turned into something beautiful.
Aw.
He was
Aw.
all the good stuff listed above. It was refreshing, and we're still together. It helps that he has blue eyes.
Of the group, who has blue eyes here?
She's
That's right, I did.
She's a romantic.
Yeah. She's a good writer, too.
Is she now?
Please continue.
Worst, a football player in high school that took me for a drive around the mall, then took me home. It ended with a high five. Then he told his friends.
He's an idiot.
Then he told my friends we had sex. He's an idiot.
All right, any date that ends in a high five,
Yeah. High five.
it may have a label on it. High
Five.
All right, the last one. Worst. I love when people start with the worst. All right?
Oh, there is no best on this one
There's
either.
no best.
There's no
only-
best.
Only the worst. Unlike the other person saying that they've never had a bad date, this person has only had bad dates, apparently.
Worse. After telling the guy I'm not interested, he continued to harass me by continuously texting harassment messages. Now, I'm gonna, this is a PSA. Folks, if you have somebody that's messaging you that you don't want them to, it's called block. Block their sorry ass, and you'll never hear from them again. Every phone, every carrier has that ability. Unless you are seeking attention, unless you are hoping that they are still interested, block them. That shit doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully in this case it wasn't any further than the texting.
Just the texting,
I mean,
right.
you could certainly end up with the stalker.
Now, I will say this. Occasionally, I don't want to speak too far out of school here, I need to know what crazy's thinking. I need to know that. Because if crazy is thinking something that I need to be aware of, I don't need to block that message. If there's a message that comes out and says, "Fuck you, I've had it, I'm coming over," I need to know that.
You need that message.
I need to know that.
That's right.
So I can prepare.
That's right.
They may be 100 pounds, but I need to prepare. So I think there is a mechanism in place, not to necessarily block, right? But dating at our age has become, all right, let's face it, dating's always been tough. Whether you're 17 or 51, it's always been tough because it's about the heart. It's about how you feel about yourself in reference to how it's mirrored from someone else. You may think, you know what, I went out tonight, I look good. I put the new shirt on, a new outfit, a new blouse, possibly a new bra and panties for Lloyd. I don't know how you feel. I don't know. But when you go out on a date, you're thinking, oh my God, I brought this, right? I had a girl over my house one time for a second date, and I cooked dinner. I love to cook. I'm a big guy. I like to cook. And I nailed it. I nailed the dinner. And then the next day, I requested her friendship on Facebook. This marries all these together, right? Social media, dating. And she went, no, I don't want to be your friend on Facebook because I don't know you well enough. And I thought, so all of your 1,254 friends, you've been to their house for dinner. You know them that well. I'm a little angry. So overall thoughts.
A little bitter.
Overall thoughts about dating today. What are our overall thoughts?
Well, we know we like men to pay.
You do. God, I love Lloyd being on the podcast.
I keep walking into these
You know,
things.
Alex is over there going, thank God he's here. There has not been a scarf reference in the last hour.
I've saved Alex many times.
So you're, God love Lloyd. If he's not gay, he's talking poorly about women.
Well, they kind of fit together.
These are all parts of the puzzle.
Had enough with that. I'm switching over here.
It's like a flowing flip.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's complicated and can be difficult. And online hasn't necessarily made it any better. It's just different.
It really has made it different. I mean, the fact that you have seen more parts of the person when you meet them than you will on the first date. I mean, be it that you've stalked their social media profile and you've seen bikini pictures, being a guy, you may have seen beach pictures or something like that. And on the first date, you just see what you see. So there's a good chance that you've seen more of them on the first date and know more about them, be it preferences or whatever you've chatted about prior to the date, than you will possibly talk about on the first date. So and I'm going to go retro here just for a moment. When I started dating, it was a matter of talking to a girl, asking her out, the butterflies, going over and picking her up at her house, right? Walking her to the car, opening the door for her, putting her in the car, not knowing what type of music she liked. Maybe having a cassette tape that you had made, as a
James's mixtape,
from Rick D's Top 40, Casey Kasem, Top 40, right? And then, but there is a certain innocence in that butterfly time that you have, not knowing. Nowadays, we're in a society where we check all the boxes before we ever meet. What kind of music you listen to? Check. What kind of, do you have kids? Check.
What's your favorite 54 books?
Yeah, check. Check. You meet them. You meet at a bar because you don't want them to know anything about where you live, your last name. And you know what? I get that. It's a safety feature, right? Especially for ladies. My God, there are some really weird guys out there. Some of them in this basement. You don't want them to know that. I get it. But there is a certain thing that's lost when you lose that innocence and you become so static as what we have now. Last question. You two guys, putting you on the spot. Of the women in your life, the one that matters, if you saw them on a dating profile, would you have swiped right or left?
Right.
Yeah, I'd say right.
I wouldn't.
I'd say right.
I would have swiped left. Because what I know about the people in my life that matter, the ladies in my life that would make me give that visceral response, they were not necessarily the hottest I've ever seen. And when you're swiping right or left, it's about superficial stuff, right? It's about superficial and a blurb, right? And 9 times out of 10, we never look at that blurb. We look at the pictures, right? Because we're pooping. That's what we do. We're at the office. We have 12 minutes.
He drinks. He drinks.
No, it's true. It is true. It is true. You have 12 minutes. You're going, all right. Right. Oh, hell no, left. Right. Oh, hell no, left. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it's a left. So, I mean, you do that. That's what it becomes, right? And then 9 times out of 10, she would not have swiped right on me either. But it's more than about that. So if you're looking at dating sites and stuff like that, be it Tinder, Match, OkCupid, whatever, oh God, look deeper than the pictures, right? Look deeper than the cut and paste email that you send. Because I've done that. It's just tough now. Because when we were kids, we were young adults, we saw people in different lights and different circumstances, and you saw them as being somebody you wanted to get to know. Not just a bar, but you saw them be it church, be it school, right, work. You saw them in a different light, and all of a sudden you're like, that's somebody I want to get to know. Now all we see is a picture, right, left, whatever. A super like, maybe. I don't know what that means. I have to pay.
Super like.
I have to pay extra for that.
That's on the premium package.
It is, and I've never paid for that because, like Lloyd, I'm cheap.